Okay, if we're ready, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, members, and welcome to this meeting of Cobtree Manor Estate Charity Committee. I'm Councillor Wells, and I'm chair of the committee. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the council's YouTube channel. Will anyone else be recording the proceedings? No, you can't even reserve your right, so there we are. And I asked that so that people at the meeting will know that this will be happening. If the fire alarm sounds during the meeting, please remain seated, and members of the Democratic Services team, well, the member, will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. Moving on to the agenda then, apologies for absence. Item 1, are there any apologies? No, I see all seats are filled. Item 2, urgent items. I have no urgent items. Item 3, notification of visiting members. I don't see too many of those. Disclosure by members and officers. Any disclosures to make? Members, officers? Nope. Jolly good. Disclosures of lobbying. Any disclosures of lobbying? So, to consider whether any items should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of exempt information, I propose that all items be taken in public as proposed. Is that agreed? Yes? So, well, yeah, okay, thank you. Just a recording, they can't hear nods. Item 7, minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July 25, that's pages 1 to 5 of the pack. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on 23rd of July be approved as a correct record and signed. Is that agreed? Okay. Item 8, presentation of petitions. There are none. Item 9, question and answer session. From the public, there are no questions. Questions from members to the chair, there are no questions. So, item 11, racing through Cobtree Estate update, to be introduced by Mike Evans. Over to you. It's not working.
That's better. Thank you, Chair. Yes, this update report reaches members with the finalisation of the Q2 figures, which are available at section 2.1. Some very positive numbers there across the estate, especially the golf course, which shows the continued improvement under the new operator. Some particular updates of note for the committee. 2.3, the biodiversity net gain reports. We now have those from the ecologist, so we can work with members in the coming months to review those and then bring a final version to committee for adoption. Obviously noting Councillor Harwood and Councillor Jeffrey's previous comments that some items can be moved for immediate action. We don't need to wait for the whole document to be agreed before doing the kind of simple interventions that we see as common sense. The Parks team restructure at 2.4, that sort of links to that last point. Now they've concluded their restructure with staff in the right positions, bringing forward some of those interventions, particularly the depressions at the front of the site that Councillor Harwood is championing. They could be brought forward this winter. At 2.5, the report references the pre-application meeting, which was very positive with planners, and the tender brief, which is now released to the market. So the timeline provides for quotes to be back in, but just before Christmas, with review in January, which now means that likely construction will be September 2026, just because we'll need time for the planning application, and also we don't want to close the park that few months earlier and miss out on the school holidays, so it makes sense to run it as we have done previously through the summer, obviously mindful of its age and maintenance it will need, and then bring it to a close in 2026, do the works through the winter, and then open spring 2027. Okay. Those are the updates of particular note, the rest of it as per the papers, and happy to take any comments or questions from members.
Thank you very much. Any questions from colleagues? Yes, Councillor Jeffrey, or Councillor Holwood, whichever, you fight over it.
I was just going to say it all looks rather good, and well done, and brilliant. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you. Councillor Holwood.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and yeah, I think the new contract to the golf course is particularly heartening to see that that's going well. And as we discussed at our last meeting, I think the very warm spring really helped with the rolling totals across the board. On paragraph 2.3 that you picked out around the biodiversity issues, if you share the reports that have come back from the consultant, I'll have a look at those straight away. And I heartily agree with Councillor Jeffrey's point around, we should kind of get on with them really, because I think it more and more facilities such as this, the kind of ecology and the natural world is a big draw in addition to the other kind of elements of the park. So I think it would be really good to get on with some of those. And as you know, I'm particularly keen to sort something out with the entrance. If we can get, something nice Kentish pond or something on that piece of flat land where there's not any underground services, it would be, I think it would make the site stand out from the industrial estates as well. But no, I mean, all in all, just thank you to everybody really for their hard work. Cheers.
Yes, it's certainly pleasing to see the golf course numbers going up. The Kent Life ones seem to be a bit of a flat line, really. No real improvement or change there. Is there any scope for any improvements or?
So in our last meeting with Kent Life and the chief exec there of the whole group, Planning Solutions, they have some information about the tourism and leisure industry at those kind of tourist destinations as a whole. Some of their sites have really suffered. Luckily, Kent Life is holding strong, but they've seen a real kind of ups and downs in the market. So it's actually holding a stable position is fairly good. That type of destination.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I volunteer for the National Trust, and at Sissinghurst we're well down on numbers. So people are not doing those sorts of entertainments in that sort of way, I don't think.
Yeah, they've also had fewer weddings this year, which accounts for lots of the visitor numbers, because there'll be those type of events that bring in hundreds of people at a time at the venue. They've seen a decrease of weddings in particular. But the new marquee toilets that we're making a contribution to will allow them to do more events. If it's not weddings, a different type of events that get those numbers back up.
And they can start advertising, and then word spreads around again, doesn't it? Okay. Anything to report? Okay, just 2 seconds. Is anything to report on the Elephant House occupant, the bees and what have you? Is that all going all right? Yeah. Okay. So, Councillor Summerskill. Oh, welcome to the committee, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I mentioned that at the start. Thank you. Welcome. I don't think you're working either. Your mic.
Is it working now? It's working. Yes.
I think you've got a dicky connection.
There we go. Yes. Sorry if it's been asked before, but you've noticed a reduction in wedding events. How many have we sort of held there in the previous years? Because we have the same thing at our village hall, and it can't be just that less people are getting married. But we've noticed that in the last 2 years.
I don't know the answer to that, Councillor Summerskill. I'm not going to guess either, but I can find out and get back to you.
Any other questions, gentlemen? No, thank you very much. Well, the report is for noting, so is that duly noted? Thank you very much. That was item 11. Item 12 then, the financial position of the estate. Over to Paul Holland.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is my regular update to the committee, also including a proposal for the development of a reserves policy as requested at the last meeting. So I'll start with the finance update. The table in section 3 summarises the current position at the end of August, and there was a surplus of just under £7,000 at that stage. Within that figure, there are some variances I'd just like to highlight. There's unbudgeted spend of just over £1,700 against the golf course professional services budget. This is for legal costs that were incurred in respect of the ongoing dilapidations claim against the former golf course operator. We've had a little more spend than forecast against the Manor Park hard landscaping budget. This is mainly as a result of some one-off works that need to be undertaken, which I've detailed in the report. There's been more spend than anticipated against the Manor Park professional services budget, and this was down to the biodiversity net gain assessment that was undertaken as referenced in the previous report. But we have offset these variances with underspends against the Manor Park management's budget, and we've also had greater returns than forecast on the investment income. So going forward, next meeting of the committee in January, I'll bring along a revised budget for this year and also the budget for the 26-27 financial year for your approval. Any questions on this section before I move on to the reserves policy section of my report?
No, I had my usual, are the red figures good or bad? Another minus is positive or negative. So
They're good.
I do
Yeah,
that with
they're good. They're good.
all
Yeah.
these finance reports always seem to me to be the opposite way around one would expect, but we've got used to that over the years. So it is a positive position, which is nice. Councillor Jeffrey.
Yeah, just a quick question. It links to one of the 4.4 with the sort of almost 4 million invested. The investment income. Oh, hang on, I misread it. Ignore me.
Yes, it's the other way around, isn't it? Okay. Any other questions on the actual finances before we talk about the investment fund? No? Okay. And then the reserves policy?
Yes, thank you. So members asked if we could look at developing a reserves policy at the last meeting. So this section of the report outlines a proposal for your consideration. So there is guidance issued by the government to assist charities in developing an appropriate policy. And I've set out some further background information around the current level of reserves that we hold. That concludes that the amount of reserves currently held is adequate, but given accessing those held in the endowment or the investment fund from charity fund isn't straightforward, it's probably worth setting some sums aside from projected future surpluses to cover any significant unexpected costs or future projects. I've suggested we could look to set aside maybe up to £50,000 a year, but subject to your agreement, I'll work this up into a more formal proposal for consideration at the next meeting of the committee. So yeah, happy to take any questions on that section of the report.
I mean, to have 11 months worth of expenditure in reserve seems to me to be perfectly adequate to cover most eventualities. I mean, I know various groups that I belong to is either 3 or 6 months, so we're doing quite well to be at 11. Any questions from anybody else? Councillor Jeffrey.
Yeah, my thoughts were it's possibly a little on the high side. I wondered if a 6-month reserve might be better and allow us to do something with the additional money in terms of investment in the area. I'd welcome others' thoughts on that, but you know, we might have some cash we could do something interesting with.
Yeah, I know occasionally charity commissioners go after charities that have too much in reserves, but I think our numbers are small enough to go under their radar, really. But
I think what the plan going forward is, so that reserves is basically the money we've got in our bank account, and the plan is to use some of that towards the play area. So that number will come down. It probably will equate more to 6 months by the time we've used some of it for the play area. So it's probably artificially high at the moment, just because we've been putting monies aside for the play area, and plus we were holding stuff back because obviously we've had some contractual issues previously, which thankfully are behind us now. So.
And looking at the cash flow forecast, it is a positive sort of increase all the way through, isn't it? So that would presumably be going back into reserves.
Yes, yeah, because obviously they were getting that gift aid money now on a regular basis, which is, you know, we're looking at about £100,000 a year, which is good. So yeah.
Councillor Holt.
Thank you, Chairman. We had discussed the potential for land acquisitions, if any land, particularly some of the farmland to the northwest, ever came on the market, or there was an option, because we've got a growing population and our green spaces are their footfall becomes unsustainable, and you know, Cobtree is not actually all that big. really, when you look at it. And I think, you know, maybe that if we just keep our eye on the market, that if there is any potential for neighbouring land, it will be to the north, really, within the national landscape, because industrial development's kind of gobbled up right up to the boundaries on the kind of Forstall Road frontage. But I would still be keen to explore opportunities for expansion.
Yep, noted. There's nothing else, gentlemen? No, well, this report is for noting as well, for information, so is it agreed that we note this report? Agreed. Agreed. Thank you very much, everybody. I declare the meeting closed.